Hey everybody. We got a full episode for you today. Lots of fun stuff in there, so make sure you take a listen. We pick every game, but we also go through some recent auction sales and the thoughts on those. Last night was a huge night, and the last couple nights have had some really big Michael Jordan sales, Charizard sales, Giannis sales, Jackie Robinson. We kind of talk about a lot of that stuff, what it means for the market and stuff. So that's in there in this episode. Take a listen. But just so you have it right here up front for you, I want to run through the picks in case you're running up against some time. Let's run through the games here. I'll try to do them in time order. I got the Titans -7. We got the Cowboys -3. We have the Giants +2.5. We have the Texans -1.5. We have the Panthers -3.5. We have the Vikings +7. We have the Chiefs -7. We have the Colts -3. Give me the Jets and 15 points. That's a lot of points. I know it's the Jets, but the Seahawks haven't really been beating anybody by that much. Jets +15. We got the Packers -8. Give me the Falcons +1. The Saints -8.5. Washington, Alex Smith +2.5 at the 49ers. Give me that storybook ending for Alex Smith's Disney movie coming to Disney Plus sometime soon. And give me Buffalo -2.5 at home, giving Pittsburgh their second straight loss. Just wanted to give you those picks straight up front here in case you're running against any kind of a time crunch before listening to this one. We hope you listened to the whole episode. It was a fun one today. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Let's play a little game here, Luca Nation. Let's first welcome you guys back to a Sunday morning special, one of the favorite segments you guys have of Luca's Tigers and Bronzo My. And we're going to get right into our NFL preview in just a second, but I want to play a little bit of a game of overpriced, underpriced, okay?
Nice.
I want to start with the Jordan PMG that sold last night. So, guys, if you don't know, there were a ton of auctions last night of what we call holy grails in the hobby. And there's a lot of interesting sales that happened last night. Very high prices, and I want to hear Cage's take on it. Okay, Cage, you ready?
Yeah, I definitely am. So the PMG, if that's the one we're going to start with,
Yep.
I will never say it's overpriced ever.
$915K for the PMG Jordan Green.
Yep, almost $1 million for the PMG Jordan Green. So, what's interesting, right? It's not a rookie card. It's not an autograph card. It doesn't check one of the two major buckets for cards that are in that stratosphere, right? It's, normally you see somebody's rookie card, or normally you see somebody's, on-card autograph limited, or, an RPA, something like that. It's going to be, floating in that range. But to anybody who knows anything about the PMGs, there's only 10 of that green. The first 10 are the green ones. The rest of them are red. Condition is basically irrelevant. It's one of those cards where, you get it slabbed as authentic because everybody just knows that the edges are going to be chipped. Jordan inserts have become their own, basically auction category. So you now have to have room for a third one. It's rookies, it's RPAs, and then it's Jordan inserts. And this
Let
is
me ask
the mother. Yeah, sure.
Jordan Logo Man autograph or a Jordan PMG? Just assuming they're right around the same price.
What's the Logo Man autograph numbered? I don't know. I'm not.
Logo Mans are always one of one because it's the Logo Man of the jersey that he wore that day.
Listen, you always want to get one that's a 1-of-1, right? So if it's a Logo Man auto, I go with the 1-of-1. If it's what we're seeing in the market now, this is going to apply to basically any question you ask me today of these high-priced cards. There are enough people coming into the market now with money that the prices we saw last night could all fall bigly, to use a new word of the 2020 lexicon. in the next time that they come up for auction, if they ever come up. And that's the big thing, right? When you're talking about one-of-ones or cards that are limited to 10 that you know half of are in collections and vaults where they're never going to materialize again. What happens is when a card like that comes up for auction, all you need are a couple of big wallets to go after it. I mean, I was in a group chat last night while the Giannis was being sold, and people were spreading rumors that that Giannis was the one bidding on his Giannis on the card, which he posts pictures of his cards, and all of a sudden, and when you think, if it's Giannis, does 900,000 or a million or a million too? Is that really that big of a deal? And then you think, while Giannis obviously might want his own one-on-one rookie card, there are many, many people out there interested in this hobby, even as an investment, who have way more money than Giannis does. Now, when I was collecting, years back, Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I mention all the time, he's a big money guy and he has a lot of cards. But now there are multiples of him out there using this as an alternate investment strategy. So, does it surprise me that $900,000 for that? No, it just takes two people. I know somebody who was bidding on it. I know somebody who's bidding on other cards last night who has a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like there are.
There you guys have it. Cage doesn't give succinct answers to these but it's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of value there. Giannis, overpriced, underpriced. $950K for his black 101. Black mosaic.
Again, not overpriced. I mean, for a while that thing was not moving. It was sitting at $200,000-$300,000, and then all of a sudden last night it just kept jumping. And the reason for that is it just takes two, right? It just takes two to tango. And if you got two people who want to be the people who are able to say they bought that card, whether it's for an investment fund or to hold it up and flex on Instagram or whatever it may be, the card is worth what two people are willing to bid it up to. And
that's not the game, Cage. The rules of the game are underpriced, overpriced. So what I'm asking is Giannis, who hasn't won a championship, who really has achieved very little, to be the second most expensive or something like that in the top 5 most expensive cards in history.
Yep.
For modern, overpriced, underpriced.
So if I'm giving a rapid fire answer and the numbers are the same, I'd rather have the Jordan PMG than the Giannis. So I would say the Giannis is overpriced, but I do want to give value to our guys. So I know you don't like me being succinct, but here's the overall thing, right?
I love it. You're long-winded. You add a ton of value. I'm just pushing your buttons.
It's good for our listeners, and they should hear this. And it's a great thing you're doing here with this question, because probably people just tuned in for the NFL stuff. And I hope some of our card people are listening to this. I worry because I have money in cards, and I have a lot of money in cards, and I worry about the long-term sustainability of our hobby, and I worry about whether or not this is a bubble and whether or not it's going to burst. And I worry about it with my collection of Tatis rookie cards that are worth $125 or $150 or $200, and I worry about it with my my base Prism PSA 10s that are worth a couple $100. Well, think about it. As Andrew told you many, many times, there's different money in what we're collecting. There's different money in what we're investing in. There's the retail investor like myself, and then there's the institutional investor. There's the people who come in with big money, your BlackRock, who buy chunks of a company in their stock. What you're seeing with these auctions, where the big money is coming in and spending and basically laying down $1 million on one card, what you're seeing is that's the backbone of the market. That's what really makes that stock ticker go across the bottom of the screen on the Bloomberg channel or whatever, Fox Business, whatever you watch. It's not that retail investor, it's not the person on Robinhood. But for those of you out there on Robinhood, you should feel confident in what you're doing in this hobby, in this as an alternate investment strategy, because obviously there are people out there, those institutional people, who are putting a lot of money into this, and they don't think this is a bubble. So that's what I think.
Right.
When I see these prices.
And there's a level of competitiveness amongst those millionaires and billionaires. They see Patrick Bet-David. He just bought two Wayne Gretzky cards, sold them for 200% profit or something like that. And the other guys who know Patrick Bet-David, who have his money, are like, hey, I could do that. And the same thing with those Arizona Diamondbacks owner. Now, two cards that are near and dear to your heart. You want to start with the Charizard PSA 10 first edition?
So that card's overpriced because I want it to
300.
come down in price so I can get one.
That closed at 350, a little bit over 350K, right?
Yep, closed at 350. So that one more than any other one, because you get to see the bidding on it. That one more than any other one, I think, is overpriced, and here's why. With eBay auctions, unlike those auction house ones, you can kind of see who's bidding and who's competing and whatnot. In that particular auction, well, the last one sold for 290, one for that sold for 270. So you expect if it was going to continue its climb up, you'd have a stair step. Maybe it ended around 305, 306. And what you'll notice if you look at that is yesterday at about the 25-hour left in the auction mark, the bid was 304, 305, and somebody came in and put a 350 bid in, $350,000, and then the winning bidder put a bid in that topped that, exposing that $350,000 bid. There were no bids between 305 and 350. That's odd. Normally, an auction like this, you don't see that type of bidding activity, right? And it's different on eBay than it is on any of these other auction houses, right? And you're able to see this. You're able to see, even though you don't see who the bidder is, you're able to see what happened with this. So really, what that shows you now is, and obviously this is a fallacy. People come in, people miss auctions. I happen to miss an auction last night myself because I was busy, which is annoying. But in any event,
he was watching The Office with the family.
I was watching The Office.
Let's call a spade a spade.
I was watching The Office with the family. I texted Andrew.
The big question: what episode and what season? If it's the
Oh,
early episodes, we'll forgive you.
No,
if it's the late ones with Andy Bernard.
So and I'll get back to the point on the card in a second. We've watched the entire thing, so we are like 3 episodes away from finishing the whole show, like in sequential order. So we are in the later stages, but it's episodes I never watched. So we're kind of coming to the end now. But it's getting good because it's like, it's going to get aired. So everybody's scrambling, going, "Wait, you heard what?" So it was pretty. That was the last episode we watched was them realizing that everything they've done for the last decade is now going to be aired to the world. So it was pretty funny stuff. But in any event, yes, I missed an auction last night. But what that shows me, again, a fallacy is now that winning bidder who won it for 351 is out, you would think that the next time this goes, that guy who put the 350 in who lost, assuming that's a real bid and not somebody bumping the thing up, that person would only have to pay 305 for it. Now that's not the way things work, right? Because you would think based on last auction that the guy who was willing to pay 296 is gone, so the next highest bidder is going to get it. It usually doesn't work like that, but it's odd to see that type of a jump a day early. Usually it means something silly is going on with the auction. I know the person who consigned that set. He's from New York also, so I'll talk to him. What was the most interesting about that auction was there were bargains. I hope you listened to yesterday's episode. There were some real bargains on the PSA 10s and the PSA 9s that ended last night, just because, like I said, the glut of the supply that's been put in the market. The set itself. So PWCC.
Let's contextualize that real quick. So Lucanation, what happened? The Charizard actually appreciated in price. It went from 292 to 350. But the other PSA 10 first edition cards, the Magnetron, I don't think Pidgeotto was included in it. But
no, one missing card. Yep.
That was the one missing card. But like the lower end, I guess, first edition holos actually sold for significantly less than their previous auctions.
Correct. Yeah, and Magneton was a pain one because that was one of the last ones that I was chasing, probably. So how I talk about this, guys, and I'm going to really, you'll get some real good value here in the NFL episode, but you get some real good value here. I always preach, it just takes one person, it just takes one bidding war to make a price go up. So last month, Magneton, just the regular Magneton Holo, sold for $17,000, almost $18,000, right? And I was bidding on it and didn't win. So I was the one pushing the winning bidder up. Because of me, someone paid $18,000 for the Magneton last month. This month, it sold for $8,000. Last night, it sold for $8,000. Because I wasn't bidding, because I already got one after missing out on the last auction. And
look at the big balls on Brad here. He
So,
moves
but
markets, guys. I don't know if you're hearing this. When he
no,
bids on Magnetron, it's 17K. When he doesn't, it's 8K. He's the only one going after these cards.
but think about it. Me and the person who won last month's auction were out. So the top two bidders were out on the card. You take the top two off, and look what happens. Now that's actually a slightly scary thing, right? Because what it shows you is what you always talk about: the liquidity of these cards. The real price on these cards. You talk about having, what is it? Certainty in
Yep.
value, and liquidity provides certainty, right? And something like this that has such illiquidity or lack of liquidity, it's uncertain. But
it also has a lack of demand as well, right? So for Luca-based prisms, there's a ton of supply, but there's a ton of demand. So if a few buyers fall out because they've purchased cards in the last few weeks, there's other buyers that fill in. With this Magnetron, there's 3, 4, 7 people in the whole USA. I'm just estimating, having some fun here, that really want this card. So if they're not available on a Saturday night when this auction closes, they can close for pennies on a dollar relative to some previous sales.
Yeah, especially because right now there are only a few people trying to build the set, and there's just been a glut on the market. So it's kind of what's to be expected. That said, here I would say that the person who listed the set was making a mistake, because now they're listing the same cards over and over again. But overall, the set wound up selling for about $10,000 more than it sold for last month, because the Zard alone carried it, being $55,000 more. The rest of the set actually went down $40,000, which is it's an interesting thing.
All right, well, let's keep moving. Guys, you're getting a wealth of knowledge. I wanted to add this into the beginning of the segment. So feel free to fast forward this section if you're just looking for the NFL plays. I am excited to bring you those with Cage here in just a few seconds. Let's go last two cards. Let's go to Jordan PSA 10 Fleer, which was trading at 40,000 at the beginning of this year, something around there. Shot up to 120, dropped back down to 80, and just closed over 200K. And that's, the pinnacle of the hobby, so to speak, for a lot of people. What do you think about that card, Cage?
I love it. Do I think it's slightly overpriced? We talk about the Jordan a lot, right? We talk about that Jordan card a lot because it's just one of those easy ones to track. It's one of those pinnacle cards, one of those grail cards, but there's enough of them out there, just over 300 of them, that you have, a sales record. It's not a card that's, once a year it gets sold and you never know what it's going to come up for. So because of that, you're never really supposed to see these couple of $100,000 jumps. But we talk about this all the time, man. There is a price increase, and then the supply comes out. And when the supply comes out, the price takes a little bit of a step back. Then that supply dries up, and the price goes up. So we saw it when the card jumped in the beginning of the year. I think the golden auction, just like this one, was the one that set the record. I think it was like $116,000. And then all of a sudden, PWCC had a bunch, and every auction had one of these, and there were 4 or 5 available. Right. And you started to see it trickle back down under 100 into the 80s even, and then people bought them up because now you were able to buy a card that previously sold for 116 for 80, a nice haircut, 20% off, and then it took a leg up. And then you saw it sell for 125, 130. And then now this year, there weren't that many of them available on eBay. None. I knew people who were looking for them but couldn't find them. So this price increase does not surprise me, because the people who bought them in the 80s, the 100, 125, they're putting them in their vaults. They're not listing them for sale. When you buy it and you spend that money on a card, you're not looking to quick flip it for $5,000, right? But then you see one sell for 150 and change, 160. And Golden Auctions now lists one and it sells for 200. Now here's the question. The question becomes, will enough people wake up this weekend or this coming week and see the 200 and say, wow, I bought mine for 80. I wasn't willing to go to my vault and take it out and sell it for 100 or 110. But now that it's 200, can I make it easy 100% on this over a year? That's life-changing money for many, many people. Can I take this now and sell it and make $100,000? If enough people come out of the woodwork and respond to Ken Golden's tweets saying that he's the reason why the card went that way, not the fact that Michael Jordan's the greatest player on earth and it's become just an iconic card, and there are more than 300 people on earth who need to have that card. It's Ken Golden, the auction manager, who tweets that it's his him appearing and talking the card up and getting record prices. Someone should buy him a drink. But if enough people come out of the woodwork and
I saw that on his Instagram too. I wasn't sure exactly what he meant by that, but it was a cool strategy.
Listen, there are a lot of auction houses. He's trying to differentiate himself. He wants to make sure the next person who sells a Jordan goes to him instead of Heritage or whatever it is. So he's got to do what he's got to do. It's like breakers. I mean, that C. Blaise guy comes out and he's just really, really, animated. He's got this like way about him, where he goes out and I'm making a joke and it's going to fall flat. So I want to get to the NFL stuff. So
I don't watch these guys, Cage. I stay in my own head. I stay in my own head. I don't like all that chest pounding that's going on right now.
Yeah. So, I guess my point there is, if enough people come out of the woodwork and try to list that card and 5 or 6 or 7 of them become available, you're likely going to see a step back in the prices. But the step back in the prices will be the new floor.
Yep.
It's not going to go back down to where it was. It sells for 150, 160, and then 206 last night with the buyer's premium, right? So maybe if enough people come out of the woodwork and sell it, it'll sell for 180 or 175 and then start to climb from there. I think what's more likely is, you brought up Charizard and that Jordan back to back. Those used to run in parallel lines. I mean, they were like both $30,000-$40,000 cards last summer, a year and a half ago. Zard was a little bit more. There's less pop of the Zard than the Jordan, but I'm not surprised to see the Jordan take a huge jump up like that, the way that Zard has. They're kind of similar cards,
Okay, well, let's get into it. So, and the Jackie Robinson Leaf PSA 8, which was a huge jump from the previous sale, sold for $460,000. The Jackie Robinson Leaf rookie card in a PSA 8. Any words on that? Because Cage's, not a lot of people are investing in vintage baseball anymore. There still are some, but it's a really small circle. And I think Cage is in that circle. So what do you think about that sale? It's a big jump.
So that card is more about socioeconomics and the climate of our world than it is about the card itself. So 48.
We need to get Cage teaching at NYU or something like that, man. This guy, he'd be a great professor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But think about it for a second, right? This week, Disney came out and said that they are not going to recast T'Challa. And I'm like, okay, well, Black Panther was a huge movie for them. Why wouldn't they want to do a Black Panther 2? And I continued to read a little bit more, and they are going to do a Black Panther 2, but Black Panther is going to be somebody else. They're not going to just recast another T'Challa character, the Chadwick Boseman character. And he played Jackie Robinson also. That's why I make that connection, right? So I was talking to somebody last night about this, and what he told me was, there's a Mickey Mantle PSA 8 that just sold for $400,000. And the pop on Robinson 8 and above, and the pop on Mickey Mantle 8 and above are about the same. So you can make a real comparison to Jackie Robinson Leaf 8 and Mickey Mantle PSA 8 52 tops, right? You can make that a legitimate comparison. And he was kind of weighing the two. And this person who I was chatting with said, no one's teaching Mickey Mantle in school today, but in school they're talking about Jackie Robinson. And I told him it's less about the school. It's more about the segment of people who have the money to buy this stuff. You're talking about athletes. You're talking about Hollywood. You're talking about that type of money coming in, and the sports world. The Jackie Robinson is more of a fit than even Mickey Mantle. And of course, there are counterparts to this. I mentioned him that my kids know what. If you close your eyes, my son can picture an iconic 52 Mantle card. But if I told him picture what the 48 Leaf Robinson looks like, no one has any idea. It has not yet attained that iconic status. It's a weird looking colored card, yellow and red kind of deal, right? But the fact that we're having that conversation alone justifies the price tag. The fact that that card has, become part of the conversation of what should I buy? a PSA 8 Mantle or a PSA 8 Jackie Robinson. I happen to love the 48 Leaf. I love the colors on the card. I'm a fan of like the Satchel Paige that's in there.
Yep.
They're pretty rare, but there have been like 1,100 of the Jackie Robinsons graded. But it's a pretty card. Like I said, it has great colors on it, as opposed to like the Bowman card that's out there. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. What I am anxious to see and excited to see is when the next PSA 9 becomes available. It's only like I think 6 of those. I mean, that's obviously a multi-million-dollar card.
Wow.
It's just crazy to think.
Crazy that PSA 9s are now multi-million-dollar cards. Now, we have a treat for us today, guys. We don't get this a lot, but Mr. Goodell, he did us a favor, I guess. 7 1 o'clock games, 6 4 o'clock games, and a night game. That's beautiful. That's a split you don't see very often.
No.
So, Cage, which one sticks out to you?
There are a few that stick out to me. There are a couple that I kind of want to watch, right? How about this? The Chiefs game is the one that I want to watch the most. Lucky for us, it happens to be a 1 o'clock game, right?
Tua throwing 3-yard passes. Let's go.
Yeah, well, so what? And we talked about that last week, right? It's Tua, and I'm not that impressed with Tua. I got to tell you, I'm just not that impressed with Tua. And I said it last week. I said that
you bite your tongue.
He doesn't look like a guy who's a world beater. You know what I mean? He just doesn't look like. I mean, with all the hype that he has, he doesn't look like a guy who's a traditional quarterback, I guess. And he also doesn't look like a guy who's. I said it last week, right? He doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have the cannon of the arm, I don't think, to stand in the pocket and throw the ball around the field. But also, he doesn't have like that scramble ability of a Kyler or a Deshaun Watson and those guys. I think he's good at both, but not great at either. So I mean, it's interesting, right? So, but what I mentioned about the Chiefs last week when we went against them, and we were right to go against the Chiefs last week, was that as dominant as they were in the beginning of the season, I thought they were kind of in like LeBron mode. They were in like kind of coasting mode. They were winning these games, but winning them close, right? And they did it again last week, right? They had a nice Kelsey catch and a Harrison Butker field goal. But what does that tell you? It tells you that Kansas City is basically like playing with these teams. You know what I mean? They're going at like 60%, right? And I love the Dolphins. I think they've looked good. They look better than I thought they would look, and they deserve a lot of respect. But to come in as a touchdown underdog to the Chiefs, who I think are just
at home.
Different. Yeah, the Chiefs are just in a different. They're just in a different category, right? And I think now we're close enough. I mean, it's December. We're close enough to the playoff run where I think the Chiefs. I'm not going to say that they're gonna kick it in and play huge games for the rest of the way, but they're so far head and shoulders ahead that they have stuff to play for. They're going to start getting into playoff mode. And throw this one out there. I'll tie it into another game. We'll pick this later. But the Steelers, going into last week, people were talking about the Steelers being an undefeated team for the year, right? And the Chiefs were not, right? The Chiefs have a loss. Now the Steelers, we'll get to them later, they're an underdog on the road today. And the Chiefs have one loss. So the Chiefs, they should be looking for home field advantage now through the playoffs. They should be now actually, it's the first week for it. I know home field doesn't mean as much in this season, but it does.
Well, I mean, everyone wants home field. It's just easier said than done when you have to play 16 games. Something I'm looking out for is the Dolphins lead the league in turnovers on defense. And I think they've had one every single game the last 5 or 6 games. And they have this cornerback he's leading the league in interceptions. And I love when that happens, Cage. Kind of
you're talking about Xavier Howard, right?
Yep.
Xavier
an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. I'm really excited to see how that Chiefs offense deals with that Dolphins defense, who is extremely active and really good. And then on the other side, the Chiefs defense is kind of poor. So can Tua move the ball against the mediocre bottom of the barrel kind of passing defense?
What I've noticed with the Chiefs, right? What I've noticed is they're susceptible to teams who chew up the clock. The Raiders had that plan against them, right? Which is, the way to try to play against Mahomes is to keep him on the sidelines. Don't let him go out there and just, dominate time of
Yeah.
possession and don't let them have so many possessions, right? So I think Miami should be good at that. The kid Gaskin that they got back, who I talked about earlier in the year, he's good. He's a good running back. And they should play a clock chewing type of game. There's a reason why this is not a 13-point or 15-point or traditional, Chiefs spread. What were they favored by 21 against the Jets? I mean, obviously the Jets and the Dolphins are not the same team, but when they play each other, the spread's pretty close, divisional rival. But to me, the Chiefs should beat anyone in this league.
They've looked like similar teams in past years.
Yeah. So, but to me, the Chiefs should be at least a touchdown favorite against anybody in the league. And unfortunately, what I see with Miami is there's only one method for them to keep it within a one-score game, and that's a grindy, slow game where they just keep it close. That's kind of the game Kansas City's been forced to play the last couple of weeks. But if Kansas City happens to jump out and lead, they get the ball first, jump out to 7-0, they turn the Dolphins over, or they're 3-and-out, and it's 14-0. I just think it's all she wrote for the Dolphins. I don't think that team is built to play from behind and score in bunches. So there's just too many ways for the Chiefs to cover this one by 7, and not enough ways unless the Dolphins play a perfect game for the Dolphins to keep it within one score. That's my take on it. But I do want to see it because, talk about Mahomes Tua. I mean, that could be that for the hobby, what's better than that?
I'm excited, and I think this is a fun game where you could tease up and tease down. And you give yourself 13 points. Because I see this as a field goal game. I think the Dolphins have been good. They've been playing teams really, really, really tight. I think you could tease the Dolphins to 13, even 14, and you could tease the Chiefs to basically a pick. And then you have a 14-point middle, which is awesome with the home dog. I love it. But you're picking the Chiefs. -7.
I'm picking the Chiefs. And I actually like that because if it was a 2-score game, I don't know whether or not I'd be so heavy on the Chiefs, although I could see them winning by 2 scores. And pick them clearly on the Chiefs. Let's go. Are you going to tease both ends of the game? Are you going to do a teaser?
I've done that before. That depends on people's risk threshold, but I really, really enjoy it. And then you could add a 4 p.m. game to it. So basically, you get to see how it plays out, and then you have a 4 p.m. game closing both sides of the teaser. So I've done it before. I like it. It gives you a big, big middle. But it's a strategy that I recommend you doing a little bit of thoughtful research on before going and jumping into it. Okay, just keep rocking. So you got Chiefs -7.
So listen, we got Chiefs -7. I'm going to jump right over to, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you the games that I want to watch. And we already alluded to this one. I am really excited to watch what will be the 8:00 game. That is your Steelers against Buffalo. I know I'll start to go back in order, but we already mentioned this one. And I mean, talk about the wheels coming off of Pittsburgh, right? I mean, for last week, people were talking about them potentially being undefeated, and then they lose to Washington. And nobody was really that surprised by the Washington win. Alex Smith, a good, a field general. It's interesting, right? And Buffalo just beat San Francisco. And Josh Allen, beginning of the year was in the MVP talk. He's probably back in that MVP talk. Buffalo is 9-3. They're at home. And the biggest reason why I will be picking Buffalo -2.5 in this game is because of the injuries on the Steelers defense, right? They've looked a little weak on offense. That short passing game, not going to win it for you every time. The Buffalo defense is really, really good. Haven't really seen the Steelers pick up chunks of yardage. And their defense just has too many injuries to keep up with Buffalo. I think it's a big game for Josh Allen. Shows you that the Bills are in that upper echelon. They're going to take a full hold of the AFC East today and go Bills -2.5 on that one. You back there? All right. So next game, I'll go back to a 1:00 game.
Real quick.
Ahead, please.
You know who Alex Smith is playing against this week?
Yeah, Washington. I don't want to say the Washington
49ers
team is playing against the 49ers. Yeah, he's playing against his
So how cool is this, guys? And I talked to you guys about this a little bit last week, but comes back, third-string quarterback. Comes back from what's maybe one of the worst injuries we've ever seen. Beats the undefeated Steelers, and now who do we get? We get comeback tour, Cage.
Yeah.
Now he plays his whole team. How cool is this? You got to
So,
admit, this Alex Smith tour is pretty awesome.
I could just go right into that game if you want. I mean, that game, I mean, because we haven't thrown another one.
You think I was teeing you up for no reason? You think I was just talking?
No, I mean, I normally think you like to go to the 1 o'clock games and the whole deal, but I do the games I like to watch. This one here, we talked about
jumped
this.
to the 8 p.m. game. You went from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. So all rules are out.
If you listen to our episode, our weekly preview episode, the last couple of weeks, you'll notice that I kind of gave my 3 games to watch. This wasn't on there, but you have corrected my error. There should be a game to watch because I've talked about Alex Smith the last 3 weeks and said the same thing, and I'll do it for the 4th week in a row now. The guy, he's not going to win a Super Bowl this year, but he's going to win a Disney movie. All right.
Yep.
So he's basically writing out the script now for his after school special. I mean, like, this is the deal, right? I mean, talk about a feel good story, like you said. And here is the Super Bowl of that movie. Major League, people forget they didn't win the World Series. They just won a wild card game. They just won the tiebreaker. They never actually got to and they still had a nice movie about it, right? Moneyball. That team didn't win the World Series, but they made it look like they did because they had a crazy streak during the year, right? This will be the Super Bowl.
Guys. Don't be fooled, guys. They're not out of the playoff contention either.
That's right. So
it's interesting. It's getting interesting here, Cage.
So both of the teams in this game are 5-7, right? But both of the teams seem to be going in exactly the opposite directions. If there can be a good 5-7 and a bad 5-7, this is kind of where we're looking, right? So I don't know, man. Listen, the 49ers. Where's this game being? Is this the game that's being played in Arizona? Right?
Yep.
49ers playing a game in Arizona.
California isn't very safe right now. There's COVID restrictions and they've closed the stadium. So they've decided that in Arizona, these games are much more safe for the players.
So listen, it's a nice play to come into because we just talked about Buffalo and, the 49ers look really bad against them. Their offense looked really bad. And then you had the Washington team that's rounding into form, right? They got the rookie running back. Was it Gibson? Is that his name?
Yep.
Who's looking really, really good, starting to really round into form. I think he plays a big role in today's game. The Niners are not at home, even though it's a home game for them. And yet Washington, it was a 3. I'd love it better if it was 3, but, a +2.5. This is a game where I'd go Washington money line on this one. I think Washington wins the game. Forget about getting the points. They're +2.5. I think Washington actually wins the game outright. What say you, sir? This was a game you wanted to talk about. You're on the 49ers? You think I'm
on the Redskins.
The feel-good story of Alex Smith comes to an end? You're on the Redskins with me? I like it. Wonderful. So we go to the
Alex Smith train. Let's go. Let's get it done.
So we go from Alex Smith, one of the the finest quarterbacks to ever play the game, to one of the bigger quarterback disappointments to ever put a helmet on. And that is Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So we have the Vikings at Tampa Bay today. Line on this one is Bucs -7. And, far be it for me to go, all chalk on this one.
Cage, you said that the Patriots are the biggest Gemini team, hot and cold, in the league. Are the Vikings right up there with them?
Well, you could say both of these teams are, right? But I think that still it's the Patriots because even though you never know what you're going to get, from week to week, they could blow somebody out 30-0 or get blown out 30-0. That's different. These teams here, like the Vikings, they can lose. But yes, last week I was high on the Vikings, and I'm like, the Vikings are going to win, and they put up a real stinker. Now, I don't think that happens today, right? I don't think that happens today. Tampa Bay, they've been inconsistent. They haven't been horrible. They've just been inconsistent. The last 2 times they played, they lost both games. What was 27-24, I think, was both of their losses, right? So it's not that they are getting crushed. It's not that they're bad. It's they're in games, but they're not finding a way to win. Which, that's not Tom Brady, right? I mean, here's the problem I see with the Bucs: their defense. Mm-hmm. Their defense has let them down the last couple of weeks. And
do you think that will change off the bye week?
You would think so, right? But, sometimes it's a talent thing. And it also depends who your opponent is coming off a bye week. And while I'm not telling you the Vikings are great, I'm not telling you they're consistent, the one place they don't have any real problem is that offense. I mean, they have offensive weapons. They're like a fantasy dream, right? They're not going to have a problem scoring against the Buccaneers defense. Um, Look, it's you don't want to call it like a must-win game for Tampa because they're 7-5, but a win today would be a big thing for them, for solidifying their spot in the playoffs. I just think 7 points is too much. I think the Vikings give them a game here, and I think if Tampa Bay wins, it's another one of those 27-24 type of scores, and maybe Tampa Bay wins it in the end instead of losing it by a field goal this time. But I just don't see, Tampa Bay putting the Vikings away by 7. So I'm going to go with the Vikings
Some
here plus
notable
7.
stats here. Some notable stats. In their last 5 games, the Vikings are 4-1. The Bucks are 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
But something to take note is the Vikings have the 23rd strength of schedule in the league. Bucks are 6th. So they've played some tough games, and especially of late. So something to note.
Yeah,
So
and they're in a tough
you got the
division. They got a lot of
Vikings
stuff.
plus 7.
So this one here, you forget about a Gemini team. I think last season the same thing happened to the Raiders. I think they finished 1-5. After starting the season off with a surprising start, and they're going to wind up doing it again here. So the next game that I'm going to talk about here, because we're just going to do a jump around and kind of go all over the place, is the Colts, who are a 3-point favorite at Las Vegas. To say the Colts. So this is funny, right? I would love to talk about the Colts and say, wow, they really got away with one last year. Talk about somebody who last week, they got a lucky win, right? There was a fumbled snap that allowed them to hang on and win the game against Houston. But is anybody really going to argue that the Colts got the biggest gift of a win when the Raiders were basically handed a Hail Mary by the Jets, who were looking for the number 1 pick? So, I mean, talk about two teams that come into one going, whew. You got an 8-4 Colts and a 7-5 Raiders, both teams who are coming off of wins against inferior teams, neither of whom should have won. But I guess, what? Go ahead.
We've done, I think, 13 or 14 of these.
Yep.
How many times have the Colts been either -3, -2, -2.5? I feel like that's their spread in just about every single game.
Yeah, and any time that they've been more than that, they haven't covered.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the Colts. I think they cover the 3 here. It's a shame for me to say this. I was on the Colts going really far in the playoffs in the beginning of the year. I was not high on the Raiders. I think I picked the Raiders to go like 7-9 this year, and they already have the 7 wins. So for me to be right, they got to lose the next 4. And with a team like the Raiders, it's very possible. I think I had maybe the Broncos as the only team that was worse in that division. So I mean, look, it is what it is. I don't think the Raiders are in the same category as the Colts. I think the injury to Josh Jacobs came at like the worst time possible for the Raiders. And I think you're going to see the Raiders finish 8-8 at best, which is just, I mean, look, their defense is just not good. And they shouldn't finish better than that because they need to get good draft picks and build a better defense. This is one where I really like this one. I think that the Raiders defense is almost tailor-made for Phillip Rivers and this Colts team. I think they use the run game. I think you might get, from fantasy perspective, you might get 2 running back touchdowns here. You might get Naheem Hines catching one, and you might get Jonathan Taylor running one. So, it's my little prediction fantasy pick for the day. Maybe we'll see if it's right. We'll clip it later. But yeah, let's go through the 1:00 games. Are you surprised, by the way, for me to go against the Raiders? When I go against them, they seem to win. When I go with them, they seem to lose. So maybe it's reverse.
They've overperformed this year based on the talent on that team, and the Colts have a really good defense. Phillip Rivers does always lose in December, so I don't know if that weighs into your consideration at all. Yep. But I like the play.
So I would
I would lay off this game, but we don't do that because Cade weren't about that life.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen. I'm not betting this. We're giving you our analysis, we're giving a betting analysis. I'm giving you a pick on every one of these games, right? And that doesn't mean that I'm lazy on it, right? If I were betting, I would bet on that game. But Andrew, he's bringing up the right point, which is there are games you stay away from. We're giving you picks at every game here. We tell you which ones we're most confident on. And if I tell you at the end of my play, maybe it's reverse psychology and I'm picking the Colts because I want the Raiders to win, maybe take that into account when you're deciding if that's a game you want to put your money on. If I were putting money on it, I'd put it on the Colts. But that's not, the confidence level on that one is not the highest. And speaking of
while you're hot, I want you to move to the Cardinals Giants.
that was where I was going. That was exactly where I was going. I swear that was my game.
We're in sync,
I was just
Ariel.
about to
We're
say.
in sync. Look at that.
I was like, can you believe if we were talking about this game a month ago, and you were saying it's the Cardinals against the Giants, what would the spread be? 11? Cardinals here by 12. I mean, what seriously? What would the spread be? And what have the Giants done to make that this game shouldn't be an 11-point spread? Is it Colt McCoy with his big win? And I mean, like seriously, what is it going to be, right? And yet here's the spread, right? The spread is Cardinals minus 2.5, Giants plus 2.5, and I'm going to get you even crazier. You ready? My pick's the Giants. I picked the Giants. I picked the Giants plus 2.5. The fact that I can't pick the Cardinals to win this by a field goal, it's the weirdest thing because I woke up, I saw this one, and I'm like, how am I not picking the Cardinals here, right? I mean, it's Kyler Murray. He's like MVP talk. He's the greatest player to come in. He's going to dethrone Patrick Mahomes as the hobby darling. But look, the Giants, without their better quarterback, put a beating on the Seahawks. And the Cardinals are not as good as the Seahawks. I know that's not the way it works. It's not A beats B, B beats C, so A beats C. I know that's not the way the NFL works, right? But I don't know. I think the Giants as a team are they're a better team.
I'll jump in here.
Please.
I picked the Giants to beat the Seahawks last week.
You did?
I picked the Giants to give the Buccaneers a tough run. And the thing about the Giants is they're a team that's going to keep getting better and better. I love their coach, Cage. He's I love Bill Belichick, kind of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. He was the Patriots special teams coach.
All over the AM radio this week in New York. Everybody praising Joe Judge. And, they have to take a pause for a second and say, I'm anointing him the next big coach here in New York. And it's weird to do that with a 5-7 coach. Seriously, that's what the AM talk was.
Well, let's pump the brakes on that. But I will say I like to catch someone that's trending up early.
Yep.
And I think the Giants are trending up. They've gotten better game after game after game after game after game. That defense is tough. Leonard Williams is a monster. The Jets just give everybody away for whatever reason. They just don't like people, I guess. And I'm a Colt McCoy fan. I've loved Colt McCoy since the University of Texas days.
Jones might be playing.
Who's Jones?
The quarterback.
Jones?
No, Daniel Jones.
I'll check that, but I doubt it. I don't see how you bench Colt McCoy, but that's just my opinion. I'm someone that just ride the hot hand. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nicky Foles. But here's the big thing that's not being talked about. I think Kyler's shoulder is pretty bagged up. And I don't know if you guys ever played quarterback. Throwing with a beat-up shoulder is really, really tough. He's not very accurate in general. He struggles to throw over the offensive line. We've talked about that on countless episodes. And now his shoulder's beat. Man, I don't know. I think it's just you put your money on the Giants and you ride them till the wheels fall off. I think it's going to be a race of the Giants and the Washington football team to get to the playoffs. So I think it's interesting.
So I haven't seen it from anybody, with, confirmation because, we do this early enough to get the picks out there for you guys on the lineups. But all of the news seems to think that Daniel Jones are starting today. I mean, the news from last night, all the stuff that I checked said that it's likely that he starts. Their playoff hopes are on the line and all that fun stuff. And I think with Jones, you have a better chance of winning. I know Colt McCoy was a real nice Cinderella last week, but I think, with Jones, they have a better shot of actually winning this. But we're both on the same. We're both picking the Giants plus 2.5, which is, let's do it.
Gorgeous game to tease. It's a gorgeous game to tease.
Well, you do like to tease. So another fun game, right? Because, it shows two of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation, two first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's, Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford.
You're going to go Bengals Cowboys.
Yeah, that's even better. But I mean, there's nothing like, when two of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, take the field against one another. I, of course, am joking because Matthew Stafford is trash. But we have the Packers minus 8 points against the Lions. The first thing is, this jumped out at me, right, as this is a division game, right? And, 8 points is a lot. Division games usually are decided by one score. So I did a little more digging, and obviously the Lions, the spread's a little closer than it otherwise would be because they had that magic in that last game of an interim coach, right? A new coach comes in, they fire their old coach, and just like we predicted, new coach comes in, and all of a sudden, the team gets a little bit of nitrous, right? It's like a Fast and Furious movie, and all of a sudden, they're able to hit the button and go 300 miles an hour. I don't know why that happens, but it just does. You talk about it all the time. It's like mental.
But the Bears gave that game away. They were up by 2 scores with I think it was 20-30 with like 5 minutes left in the fourth.
Mm-hmm. So listen, the only thing that stops the Packers from winning this game by 8 points is if the Packers just pump the brakes a little bit on it. I mean, they're favored. Their offense is great. While I think Detroit can score, and I think this game probably goes into the high 50s and might go over on the over on this. I think that the Packers, they just have too much offense. They got Aaron Rodgers. Detroit has nobody to slow down the offense here. I think you're going to see, multiple touchdown passes from Rodgers. You're going to see scores from Aaron Jones.
I was just going to say that exact same thing. I was going to make a prediction.
Go ahead.
4 touchdowns for Rodgers.
4, yeah. I mean, that's.
If I was playing daily fantasy, he'd be my quarterback this week.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to have a big game. I think this could be one of those games where I know the over is like 54ish or something like that, 55 depends. It changes every 2 minutes, but this is a game where the Packers could score 40 points themselves. So they've done it before this season. I've started to bet the Packers over in recent weeks, and it continues to come in. Remember, we did the Packers and the over recently within the same game. To me, that's a pretty safe bet. Pretty much going forward, the Packers are.
Hey, can I ask you something?
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
So we Mahomes runaway MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically in everyone's eyes.
Yep.
Do you know what Rodgers' stats are this year?
Almost as good. I mean, almost as good. I've been saying that. I think Rodgers just.
But do you think that's for someone like him, knowing his personality and his demeanor? You think that's a little annoying?
I'm sure it is. And he probably knows the stats, and he probably is going to go out there and say, you know what? Let me run these up a little bit.
Let me run these up a little bit is exactly what I was thinking. 36 touchdowns, Cage, 4 interceptions.
Yeah. You know what Rodgers' problem is? He's broken up with too many attractive women. No, besides that, you know what his problem is? He's got a hideous mustache. No, you know what his problem is? A real problem. So that's 2 problems, but that's just my own little subjective problems, right?
His brother was on The Bachelor.
No, he did horrible commercials for State Farm, the discount double check. No, that's not his problem either. Rodgers! No, the real problem with Rodgers, he's got Mike Trout syndrome. He's been too good for too long. You literally could give the AL MVP to Mike Trout every year if you wanted to. And, you can make an argument that Rodgers is in that same category. Rodgers plays MVP caliber football every year. They can give him the MVP every year. And, so that's why no one is shocked to hear 30 and change against 4. They're numbers that like no other quarterback has ever done. He just does it every year. So I'd love to see him put up significantly more touchdowns than Mahomes.
Another game I would tease, by the way. Tease it down. I would play it at -8 as well, but yeah, I think they smash him. Okay, just keep rocking. You're on a roll right? Here.
Well, I mean, there are some fun games. There are a lot of fun games, and here's another one. Your Eagles host the New Orleans Saints today.
I know you've been talking about that game.
Tell me about the Eagles.
What do you think about the Eagles? What do I think about this? I think it's hard to build winning culture, man. I think it's easy to win one Super Bowl, as you see. I think it's really hard to build a consistent winning program, and it starts with the top, and it starts with leadership and culture. So I'm really glad they benched Wentz. Not that I'm against Wentz, the human being. I just don't think he's a very good football player. And I think Jalen Hurts will be an interesting start today, but I don't think much about the Eagles, if you really ask me. I don't think much of them.
So here's the fun, right? So I'm going with the Saints, and it's now -8.5. Although it was 7 earlier, it's -8.5. I'm going with the Saints to cover this one. But let me tell you what's in my brain for this one, because we like to give you a hobby, we like to give you a bunch of stuff, right? So there's a couple of things. Number one, I hope you guys did not go out and buy Jalen Hurts cards hands over fist at the run-up that was, after he came in last week, right? His numbers didn't look that good last week. And he gets the Saints defense, who are number 1 or 2 in almost every defensive category over the last half of the season here. So Jalen Hurts, if you happen to buy his cards last week when he came, and they are going to be less after today. It's unfortunate, but I'm just going to throw that one out there. He's playing against a good defense. He's a big underdog, and he's going to struggle against the Saints today. I think he's going to be – go ahead.
Is this quarterbacks of similar styles? Little Taysom Hill, Jalen Hurts action? Some guys that are kind of dual threat quarterbacks?
Little mobile. I think, believe it or not, I think Hurts can throw the ball a little bit better than Taysom Hill. Hill's –
Hey, Taysom Hill just threw his first touchdown the other week. Yeah. Stop it.
Taysom Hill, talk about it just shows you that if your team's good enough, the Tim Tebow method can work. So in any event, right? I mean, I like Jalen Hurts. I don't know whether I would have made this change. I mean, I know Wentz is there, and the Eagles are not exactly completely done at 3-8-1. With that division, no one's ever done, believe it or not. But I mean, I worry about what is going to happen. You throw your rookie quarterback out there in a game like this. The first starters against the Saints, a huge underdog, and it's difficult. I guess, look, you got to rip the Band-Aid off and see what you got in this kid. But, we'll see. But here's the other thing. I'm surprised you didn't mention this. You're all about this when it comes to the betting lines, right? Is this I know you hate the word, but is this a trap game? And I say that because do you know who the Saints play next week? You don't. I'm going to tell you.
They're probably playing for the number 1 seed.
They are, but it's a weird game. The Saints clinched the playoff by beating the Falcons last week, so they're already in the playoffs. But in order to have them secure the first round bye, which they're still, I think they have like a 66% chance to do it. They're going to need Drew Brees back next week because they play the Chiefs in Week 15. Talk about a nice game. Now, are they looking ahead? Are they going to go through the motions in this game? Does them going through the motions still give them enough to beat the Eagles by 8.5? There were a lot of things that went into this for me, and I know it's one of those things I never even looked at before. Who are they playing next week? Is it a look-ahead game? Are they coming off the bye? What's going on? Coach changes. There's so much that goes into this picking stuff that I didn't even think about when we started doing this 14 weeks ago. But all that on balance, I still think that the 10-2 Saints are just worlds better than the 3-8-1 Eagles, and I think
I think it would be a huge mistake to ever lay 8 points with Taysom Hill at quarterback.
Okay.
That's a lot of points for a guy. It's a lot of points for a guy who just threw his first passing touchdown.
I don't even think he needs to pass the ball at all today. I think they can hand the ball off to Alvin Kamara. I think they can hand the ball off to Michael Thomas. I think they can hand the ball off to you, and they win this game by 2 scores. I think the Eagles are that bad. And remember, we want to talk quarterbacks. Taysom Hill is not a quarterback. Jalen Hurts is starting his first NFL game ever against a very, very good defense. I don't think Taysom Hill's going to have to throw. They could bench Taysom Hill. I think the New Orleans Saints defense might win this game by 2 touchdowns. I think you might get two pick sixes. So
I have laid off every single Eagles game this entire season, and I would suggest doing the same. But I love it. I mean, you picked a better team, so I'm with it.
Yeah,
I'm with it. Let's go. Jalen Hurts is going to be exciting for Philly, though.
Yes. Listen, I hope Jalen Hurts succeeds. I hope he's great. I hope he's a franchise quarterback for you guys. I hope he's the next Donovan McNabb. So, I mean, I think Wentz is owed a lot of money, but hey, what can you do, Philly? So the next one, talk about a big spread here. The next couple games we're going to talk about are big point spreads. You have the Titans at Jacksonville. And this one is a 7-point spread touchdown here for the Titans, -7 at the Jags.
I was actually surprised by that spread. I thought that should have been closer to 8 or 9.
So I think it's come down a little bit, which is weird, right?
Mike Glennon has his fans. He's got like a little Trae Young fan base here, huh?
It's funny. A couple years back when Glennon was good for Tampa Bay, I remember my friends here who were Jet fans saying, we got to make a run at Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon should be the starting quarterback. And they were actually mad they didn't get him. The Jaguars, they have this funny little thing that they do here where, it seems to not matter who the quarterback is, if it's Mustache Minshew or if it's Luton, the rookie, or if it's Mike Glennon. They seem to keep games close, right? And, I'd like to pick the Jaguars here, and it normally is, my thing. And I think I went against them last week, and I said, it's not Minshew. If we had Minshew, I'd be picking them to keep it within a touchdown, a division game, the whole deal. I don't see it. Not in this matchup. The Titans are 8-4. The Jaguars are 1-11. Tennessee their offense is Derrick Henry. I just think that the Jaguars focus on that. You can have some passes. You can have some fun big plays here. You want to talk about baseball?
Well, there's just one thing.
Yeah.
It's all sports.
It's all sports.
Every single sport, like baseball.
And now time for special announcements from Ian's Card Network.
Baseball, basketball, what?
And football, there are all people with big beards.
Yeah, that is definitely a trend in sports now. There are a lot of beards.
Like Charlie Blackmon, James Harden, and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
So yeah, there are big beards. Listen, are you still asleep, pal? Do you dream about men with beards? Yeah. All right, go back to bed. Very weird. I guess Santa's coming to town at some point in time because we have dreams about beards.
If he saw our Luca Nation Instagram Explore page, he would dream about TikTok stars and maybe something else.
Dude, you have to stop. I don't know what you're doing on our page, man, but I don't know what this stuff going on. I don't know what you're doing.
I fixed it this morning. I literally went down the list and just said, not interested. No more Charlie D'Amelio. No more Addison Ray. No more.
Did you? I mean, I had no idea it was such a thing, but what exactly is Ukrainian bachata? Because for some reason that was all over our page's feed. I don't know what that is. I mean, is that a big thing in the Ukraine, my friend? Is Ukrainian bachata dancing like a big thing? Is your sister there? Does she know this is what you're looking at night?
Guys, for Luca Nation, just so you guys know,
Ukrainian bachata.
We're a sports card page. We follow all sports card accounts, but since we've started this account, our Explore page on Instagram is just nonstop Instagram and TikTok stars and their fan accounts. So it's like Addison Ray, Charlie D'Amelio, and just nonstop TikTok stars and just dancers. It's insane.
Yeah, I hit I don't know what it's called, but I hit the magnifying glass. I hit the little clue thing, because I'm gonna go search for something, and I'll search. I want to search for like Explore. See, I don't know, dude. It's a magnifying glass. So I hit the clue game. And I'm going to type in like a search for a person's account, or I'm going to type in like Michael Jordan, do some research on Instagram, see if I find a picture. Jordan. And I what do I get? I get people dancing. I get two people dancing next to each other, trying to copy each other, and they're doing weird things with their arms. And then for some reason, for the last couple of weeks, and this is an account I shared with my co-host here, it's Ukrainian bachata dancing. I don't know if he's learning or if he's just watching or a little bit of both. I have no idea, but that's what's going on, and I've become pretty proficient at it. I have to show you my Ukrainian bachata moves the next time we do a reel, my friend.
So there you guys have it. There you guys have it. Men with beards and bachata. Let's rock.
So back to the task at hand. While I want to say the Jaguars can keep this close, I just don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. I think the Titans win this game pretty easy.
Can I give you an angle?
Yeah, please. Let's hear it.
If you look at the Titans' last few games, they've been really, 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 really tough. And now back to a division game, right? Mm-hmm. Where it seems on paper these teams are inferior, but are they? Right? This is a classic trap line. You would think this is a 10-point line, but the Titans are coming off and they've played. Let me take a quick look at their schedule. I know they played the Ravens.
They played some tough games.
They played the Browns last week, which was
Jacksonville.
A shootout.
Jacksonville almost beat Minnesota
in overtime.
Yeah,
but I'm with you. This spread to me was very funky. And I was leaning Titans. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going, Cage.
No, you're 100% right. No, you're 100% right on this one. And I have to tell you, I gave thought because of the spread. I gave thought to the Jaguars on this one. I did. Because I'm like, what's going on here? Are people finally, giving the Jaguars the respect they deserve for keeping games close? You're not going to make a living betting games by trying to pick. Oh, I think they have the shot to keep it close. I mean, come on, that works every now and again. But the Jaguars are 1-11 for a reason. The Titans are 8-4, right in the thick of the AFC playoff race, and a team that's 9-4 and handles their business in a game today that they're supposed to win. That really sets them up for a nice spot in the AFC playoffs. I just think the Titans come out today and they handle their business. Now, talk about a fun game here. The Jets at the Seahawks. And this, when it started as a 13.5-point spread, I was like, wow, that's a lot. Now it's 15. Right now the Jets are getting 15 points from the Seahawks. Right, it's at Seattle. It's an interesting thing. What are you pulling on the thread on my shirt here, dude? Wow, this is fun stuff. So we got, I don't know, come on now. I read an article that said Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator for the Jets, is fired because of one play. Now, talk about misleading. I mean, it wasn't the one play that the Raiders had, that the Jets have just been terrible. They've just been terrible, right? I mean, they're 0-12, not one play. They don't have one win. And are they going to go 0-16? You know how hard it is to go 0-16? That's a difficult thing. What, has it been done once? I mean, was it Tampa Bay? Detroit flirted with it basically every year of their existence.
Well, Kid, if I were to want to go 0-16, here's what I would do. I would hire a defensive coordinator that blitz on the final play of the game. I would hire
cover zero
coach who does some kind of blow or something before press conferences. And then I'd have him a quarterback. And I think they've had all three of those. So they're all set. They're going to hit their goals this year.
Well, I can't wait to see it all play out when the Jets get the number one pick. And, all the college players who are going to come out in the draft say they don't want to play for them and stay in college. It's going to be crazy stuff, right? So 4 more games. The Jets have a shot to win one game and avoid going 0-16. Would have been nice to see the Jaguars win a game last week because then the Jets would have had a game of wiggle room for that first pick, but it didn't happen. The Jets are not getting that win today. The spread is crazy. And what's weird about this one,
though, the Seahawks have also been up and down. The Seahawks have also been up and down and a little inconsistent. Up and down.
We said it last week, right? Seattle, they win. They're 8-4, but they have, I think, including last week when we were right about it, something like 5 of their last 6 games have been won by a touchdown. They play to the talent level of the team they're playing against. And you're telling me Seattle's up in this game late? Could they bench Russell Wilson for the fourth quarter just to rest him? Sure. Why the hell not?
They're going to put Pete Carroll in for the fourth quarter.
They could put Taysom Hill in. Pete Carroll might actually be a better quarterback than him, but it's not going to matter. I like 15 points is a lot. I did it once this year, and I picked the Jets, right? They were getting like 21 points or something like that from the Chiefs, and it didn't work out. But I'm gonna go with the Jets. I'm gonna take the 15 points with the Jets here. That's a lot of points in the NFL. That's one of those things where a garbage touchdown goes a long way at the end. The Seahawks could be up by 20 points, and you just get one of those late scores where your favorite thing in the world, you call them a backdoor cover, happens, and the Jets 15 points is a lot in the NFL, right? I don't want to say Seattle's been struggling, but they've been playing poorly the last couple of weeks. If they win, they find a way to win. They keep it close. They have not blown out anybody in quite some time. So this one here, NFL game, 15 points. I'm going to take it. Next game is the Denver Broncos at the Carolina Panthers. The Broncos at the Panthers. We got the Panthers here minus 3.5 points. Interesting, right? We got a lot of this. A lot of teams that are going against each other with similar records today. You got the Broncos and Panthers both at 4-8. Weird, while the Broncos don't look so hot, the Panthers are interesting here. It'd be a different game if Von Miller was healthy, or Carolina's offense had less injuries. Not exactly the most exciting game, which is why even though it's a 1:00 game, we kind of left it towards the tail end of our picks here. I think the game might be fun. I'm going to go with the home team on this one. I think Carolina's run game does enough here to basically let them run away with this one here. I think they win probably by more than a touchdown. So the 3.5-point spread is a fun one for me. But this is not a game I really want to watch. 2 4-8 teams where the Broncos at the Panthers. But
to be fair, I think these are two very different 4-8 teams.
Yeah.
Because I've watched Carolina this year, and Bridgewater has looked good. Robbie Anderson, their wide receivers have looked good, and the defense is solid. And is Christian McCaffrey back? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he is. I think the spread would be a little different if it was.
Yep. But I just think they're two very different 4-8 teams, and I'm not a luck believer. I don't know if you are. Lock believer, not luck.
No,
I believe in luck and good fortune.
My pick on Locke coming into the year was that he was going to be somebody you buy in the preseason and flip before the season even starts, right? And
yes, you did.
He really has not done so well, right? Wow.
Look,
I'm looking at the injury news. I wonder if this changes anything. Antonio Gibson ruled out for Week 14, the Washington running back.
And Christian McCaffrey's out.
McCaffrey's definitely out. That's why I was looking. I don't know. Does that change the Cinderella story of Washington at the 49ers plus 2.5 without their star rookie running back? I don't know. I'm not going to change it here. Let's stick with Washington plus 2.5. All right. So we got the Panthers on that one. Panthers minus 3.5. And we go into another game. This is a fun one here. It would have been more fun had we had Drew Brees, because just like we had that Mahomes against Tua, cool quarterback matchup. It would be nice to see the Saints and have Brees against Justin Herbert. So we have one here. We have the Falcons at the Chargers, a 4 change game today. I like to say 4:00, but I know those change, right? So. The line on this one, this has changed considerably. Have you noticed that? Is this a game you've been looking at, the spread changes on or no? I mean, I know sometimes you do. This one started off the week. The Chargers were getting 2.5 points.
I have been monitoring this game, and I wanted to play the Falcons early in the week, plus money, and also tease them. I laid off. I like to wait till the line closes, but you're absolutely right. It's a very interesting line. You know how I feel about Anthony Lynn. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I've told you guys I think the Falcons are a very good team, and I like their linebacker Foy. So you guys know where I'd be leaning here.
Yeah, listen, I'm taking the Falcons here, and now I'm getting a point, which is crazy. I mean, it's just basically a money line game. But, when I first started looking at this game, I'm like, all right, could the Chargers keep this within a field goal? Possibly. But, I mean, the Falcons, you're right. They are, just as we like to crap on the Bears and say they were the worst 5-1 team ever in the history of the NFL, this Falcons team is 4-8, right? Are they the best 4-8 team ever? I think so. Just like the Chargers could be the best 3-9 team, though. Those teams, by the way, they're passing rankings, so it tells you how good a quarterback is. But in our league here of quarterback dominance, right, where it's you have to have a franchise quarterback, right? So you have the Chargers have the 4th ranked passing offense in the NFL, and the Falcons have the 7th ranked passing offense of the NFL. So you have 2 of the top 7 passing offenses. So you're talking about good quarterbacks.
That's got to be by yards, right?
And yeah, so that's the passing ranking, exactly. So,
because if I were to guess,
3-9 and 4-8, come on. I mean, that's what does that do? What does passing ranking do?
I think if you guys look at red zone offense, I've watched both of these teams a bit. They're not great at getting the ball into the end zone when they do get into the red zone. They're great at moving the ball, kind of between the 20s, but they haven't been great scoring. Is that right, Cage, or you're not sure?
So this year, yes. Although it's hard to understand that because both teams have those fade wide receivers,
Right.
right? Both teams have the Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Ridley's not the fade guy. Julio Jones has been injured. So you would think they were able to do that, but Todd Gurley's been a little banged up, and he's not what he was previously for Atlanta. He's not getting great goal line attempts, and the same thing with San Diego. Austin Eckler, who would be their bowling bull, their battering ram, has been injured as well. So it does impact their goal line formations, those packages that come in there for the red zone. That said, I think the over under on this one would be if you want to have a fun way of playing an interesting game, right? So the over under on this one is 49. I think this game goes over in the third quarter. I think both of these teams score a ton of points. I think it's a back and forth game. I think the Falcons are just a better team, which is why I'm going to pick them. But if you're in fantasy, start all four of the wide receivers I just named. You're going to have, some highlight real worthy plays here. You're going to have some big stuff going on. You're going to have Julio Jones, if he's healthy, which he's not, but Julio Jones is going to make some plays. Calvin Ridley's going to make some plays. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams going to have big quarterback numbers from both sides. That's where I go, right? So the only interesting part of this game is, believe it or not, you normally don't get offensive line call outs, but Sam Tevi, the tackle for Los Angeles, is out, and Los Angeles could struggle because of that. This is a game where I say it comes down to who has the ball last. And normally those are high-scoring games. So this game gets into the 50s. My lock of the week is bet the over in this game. I think there's just going to be a whole bunch of scoring and not a lot of defense. And the opposite end of that is our next game, the Texans at the Bears. Come on. Is this the game of the week? Is this the one that should be nationally televised? Or is that the Cowboys-Bengals that we'll talk about next? Did I save the games for the end that everybody wants to watch?
I love this game. I like Deshaun, man. I want Deshaun to win. I think I have the Texans this game, but
Me too.
Not going to be pretty.
Me too. It's the Texans minus 1.5. But yeah, I mean, talk about two teams that are just not the most fun to watch. I happen to really like the Deshaun Watson. I think he's a very good quarterback. We called it last week. We talked about Will Fuller's suspension, but the Texans, who are 4-8, were a fumbled snap away from upsetting the Colts last week. I mean, that's let's not forget that, right? I mean, it goes down as a loss. It goes down as the Colts taking care of business and covering, right? But
also a 3-point spread.
Yeah. Can I tell you one of my fun names out there, guys, and you can take a look at this one, right? So I don't know if it's a flash in the pan. I'll be watching today. I'm not telling you to go out and try to buy this guy's cards like crazy because coming into last week, he had 38 yards on the season. But how about Kiki Kute? 141 yards receiving last week. Kiki Kute. Can you get it? Come on. I'm a big fan of those names. I'm not a big fan of you and your hair today, but I'm telling you, man, we got to do like a Rocky movie. You got to do like a Rocky reenactment with you got the quaff going down. It's also windy out there, so it's helping you out. But come on now, right? Houston against the Colts, a better team, showed enough that now they're a road favorite. Even though Chicago has a better record, they are pretty terrible. So I'm going to give you some history now, right? Because we talked about the Bears, right? We talked about the Bears as are they the worst 5-1 team, right? You know how many teams started 5-1 in the last 100 years? So we're talking about going from 1920 to 2019.
150.
242 teams have started the season 5-1 in the last 100 years of the NFL.
I bet 3 of them didn't make the playoffs.
Only 4 have ended up with a losing record. 4
No
with a
close.
losing record. Yep, 4. The 1926 Chicago Cardinals, the 86 Falcons, who finished 7-8-1, the 95 Rams 7-9, and the 2008 Buffalo Bills 7-9. The Bears, who were 5-1, are now 5-7. And they will ultimately be the worst ones of all of that group. after
Let
losing
me
to the
ask you,
Texans today.
Allen Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
A pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Montgomery at running back. Pretty decent offensive line. Is this one of those where this is literally the example of you can't win in the NFL without a quarterback?
No.
Because they have all of the pieces in place other than that. Or you have a different take on this?
I do. I
Tell
have
me.
a different take. So, yes, you need a quarterback. You can't win without a quarterback in the NFL. So that's take 1A. Take 1B is this. The NFL is not the NBA. Okay? The NBA is a superstar game. The NBA is a game where superstars win, right? The NFL is not. And I'm gonna say something controversial for all my you gave me bronze testicles, whatever the name is for the LeBron lovers. Give me something. Are they Mahomies? Is the Wharf?
Yeah, my homies.
The Wharf is a Mahomie. I mean, are these Mahomie nut huggers that are out there the Mahomies, right?
The
So I'm gonna
Wharf
say
is my
something.
Mahomie.
They're not gonna like this, right? You put Mahomes on Chicago, and he's not winning the MVP. Okay? He's not. He's not winning the MVP. Yes, he has one good weapon in Allen Robinson. You put Mahomes on half the teams in the NFL, he's not winning the MVP. It's a lot in the NFL. It's different than the NBA, where there's 5 guys on the court and those 1 or 2 superstars can take you to a championship. The NFL is a team game. The NFL is the 300. It's the Spartans, right? You got to operate as a team. It's not a headliner game. And you just told me Allen Robinson, who's one of the better wide receivers in the league, and Montgomery, he's a decent, talented running back, but their offensive line is terrible. They can't protect the quarterback. And while their defense has big names, Khalil Mack, who's one of the greatest first quarter defensive players in the league but has no gas tank, they have some names, but they don't have a team, right? You need to build up a team. And NFL, you don't win with 1 or 2 names. It's not the NBA. And what the Chiefs have going for them is a lot of talent, a great offensive line, a defense that's better. They've done a good job drafting. When someone like Tyrann Mathieu falls in the draft and they pick him up and he becomes an all-pro defensive player, that's what helps you get to the Super Bowl. That's what lets your quarterback, who, granted, very talented quarterback, that's what lets a talented quarterback play MVP football, right? Kyler Murray's shoulder's hurt. It's partly because of the way he plays, but partly because of the amount of times he's been sacked, right?
Right.
I'm not going to tell
Football
you that.
Football is that kind of sport where your position relies on someone else doing their job well.
Well, I mean, listen, the proof is in the pudding, right? You have Ryan Tannehill, who, while he was on a Dolphins team, was basically the butt of everyone's jokes every Sunday morning on the preview shows, how Ryan Tannehill was terrible, terrible, terrible. And you move him over to the Titans team, and people are talking about Tannehill as the MVP, right? So he didn't all of a sudden learn how to play football. He didn't all of a sudden, get bit by a spider and become radioactive and get superpowers. I mean, give me a break now. He's still the same guy he was when he was playing on the Dolphins.
You know what's crazy to me?
Yeah.
You say Tannehill was the butt of all jokes. When I hear that, I think of Mark Sanchez running into his offensive lineman, fumbling the ball. And I was on vacation in Mexico when that happened.
There you go.
It was like 10 years ago. And the Jets are equally still bad 10 years later. What a decade for those guys. I feel bad for you guys.
And to make it a full Seinfeld episode, you're back in Mexico. So there you go. It all runs full circle. So back to this one here, right?
I'm so grateful to you for saving the Bengals and the Cowboys for
the last game, right?
Final game.
So hey, since this one's a fun one, hey Bud, should we pick the Cowboys? Yeah, against the Bengals.
Cage has just single-handedly, with one line, lost all his entire reputation. This is how he made buddy.
So I have this one done, right?
Beard man. What are
you ready? You ready for this one? So Cincinnati has held its opponents to 20 or fewer points in each of its last 3 games, which is pretty crazy because their defense in the beginning of the season was awful. I mean, just awful defense. All of a sudden, that defense kind of shows up. I don't know whether that's that their defense is improved or whether it's that their opponents know they're going to beat them no matter what happens. They don't have to score a ton of points to beat the Bengals. Burrow's done. We have no Burrow. You got the Cowboys 3-9 against the Bengals 2-9-1. The Cowboys, though, I'm going to throw one out there for you. You ready for this stupid saying of the week? They're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs yet. the Cowboys can still make the playoffs. Can you believe that? They have a 2% chance, according to the odds right now, of making the playoffs.
This is an easy one in my opinion.
Well, let's see. Oh, yeah. Dak Prescott, he's injured too. So who do you say? Because I know who I'm picking.
I say play the under.
I like the under, but what is it? What is it at? 43, 43 and a half? What is it sitting at? I mean, the under is there. It's a low under for a reason. Let me check what it's at as of right now. We have hold on there, Charlie. 44 and a half. It actually went up a point. Let's see.
That's how I would play this game. We're not playing at all.
No way, dude. My play on this is go with the Cowboys. I think they get a win and they move closer to clinching the NFC East division that is rightfully theirs. Give me the Cowboys. It's -3.5. I would have loved this if it was 3 or 2.5. But I just think the Bengals are mailing it in, and this is one where we finally see a Cowboys victory, and we moved up to 4-9, one step closer to winning that division.
We rambled on a little bit, guys, here, but that's how these Sunday episodes are. We have fun with them. We enjoy them. There's banter. We talk a little bit about some record sales in the sports card world, and give you guys our plays. So we love you. Good luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Listen, and a couple things. We still have a giveaway. If you stay to the end, we still have a giveaway going on. Andrew's giving away a Kobe PSA 10. I still need your comments on the movies he should watch. He has a list of like 150 movies, the Mount Rushmore of movies. And
did you see my comment?
Yes, I did. And you can't just watch Mean Girls 4 times. We have to give you other movies to watch. I'm sorry. Enjoy Sunday, guys. This is a fun day. Some good matchups on the NFL slate, and we'll be back soon. And we're gonna get an NBA matchup, NBA preview coming at you soon. So stay tuned for that one. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, Luca Nation.
Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.